Today we're looking at what our next new island could be, and teasers we have towards it. So the first question that we have to tackle today is, what is this new island gonna be? And over the past year, I think we might have hints towards this. Over the last year, we've been getting the creators of the monster world returning inside of the game, the Colossals themselves. And so far, we've seen 5 Colossals across all of the 5 natural islands. And this is perfect timing, as inside of Anniversary Month, we're going to be getting the chance to name every single one of these too. As if we head on over into them bios for each single Colossal, you can see that it's hinting towards us getting the chance to name them all. But unfortunately, the Colossals forgot how to sing long ago. So inside of each song, you've been listening to them and you've been going, these sound a little bit weird. And this is because the Colossals themselves, as a result of the cataclysm from the continent, they haven't been able to remember how to sing. However, recently it has been teased otherwise that something might happen to the Colossals that might make them remember.
The Colossals are out of practice and haven't used their voices in a very long time. They gotta warm up. I wonder if, as more Colossals wake up, maybe their singing skills will improve.
So here it's suggesting that over time, the Colossals might remember how to sing. Yet, seeing as though they're going to be remembering how to sing, how is this going to happen when they've already been composed? These sounds are completely fully made, so it doesn't really make sense for the sounds to change on the natural islands themselves. So when you're looking at how these sounds are going to change, it makes a lot of sense to actually go back to the update and the island that I have most ever wanted inside of the game. Colossal Island. Considering now every single of the natural island Colossal has awoken, and we're going to name them in Anniversary Month, and new islands tend to release at the end of Anniversary Month. When we'd named every single Colossal, the Earth Colossal would have been released, then we got all 5. It would make a lot of sense, I do think, for us to potentially see Colossal Island inside of Anniversary Month right at the end there. And for the monsters behind this Colossal Island, we've obviously got to go into how many Colossal spirits we have in the game. As if we go through them, we'll know how many monsters might come to expect on Colossal Island. So across the islands, we have Plant, Cold, Air, Water, and Earth Island. Those are our first 5 that we've got. Then we have the Fire Haven, Oasis, and Amber Island Colossal Spirit. That Colossal Spirit is one Colossal Spirit that is shared across all 3 of those islands. And then we also have Ethereal, Sugarbush, Celestial, the Colosseum, Composer, Tribal, Gold Island. All of those Colossals. So in total there, we have a total of 13 Colossals that would be coming to Colossal Island. But we've got to go into the amount we could truly expect here, because every single island that we get, at the start of it, the base amount of monsters that you come to expect from it is 15 monsters. They always start off with 15 monsters, so 15 would mean that the Colossal Island would be complete until further expansions. If you go on over to Mythical Island, for example, if you look at all of the common monsters, we'll have 15 monsters. Those Fire Haven Mythicals come, for example. So if we're looking at 15 Colossals, where are the other 2 gonna come from? Well, obviously Colossal Island, right? Colossal Island. It's in the name. We probably would get a Colossal for Colossal Island. I mean, if it's named Colossal Island and you don't get a Colossal, I don't really know anymore. So I do think one of the Colossal spirits will come from Colossal Island, but there's still one that we don't know about. This could be from an unreleased island for sure, but if I'm thinking about it, I do want to go back to my Colossals Mark Theory series here, because honestly, that rogue Colossal that we went on about in terms of the lore, if that is real, then that could be his answer towards who that last one could be. And for unlocking this Colossal Island, as obviously that's his main talking point here, you've got all these Colossals, but how are you going to unlock them, MPG? Well, the Colossals imbued themselves into the islands themselves to save the monsters, but thanks to us Colossi, they've been coming back. Therefore, going off of how these Colossi have been able to bring these monsters back, it makes a lot of sense for a similar, more advanced structure to be able to harvest the Colossal spirits from the islands themselves. And if we're going back to those island sounds and the Colossals remembering how to sing, there's obviously got to be a canonical explanation towards why the Colossals can remember to sing in one place as these spirit forms, but can't remember inside of the other. And that's actually where I do think this structure could come in. Seeing as though this this could harvest the spirits, it could do so in an illusionary manner. With this being more so an illusion that is created with the spirits and them feeling free, but not necessarily being free exactly, it would explain why the Colossals aren't able to sing in one place, but can in the other. And for this structure that allows the Colossals to become illusions, basically, I'm gonna name it the Colossal Spiritinator. I've got to do Doofenshmirtz proud, okay? I want to do him proud, so we're naming it that, alright guys? And this Colossal Spiritinator would require all of the Colossals to be awoken on the islands themselves. You can't get the spirits if you don't on the island. So I do think you're obviously going to have to get them there first, but then you've got to go into how they are going to be achieved on the island itself. So you've got the Colossi, you've awoken the Colossal, but how are we going to get them? Well, obviously this Colossal Spiritinator is going to require a huge power surge. We are talking about the creators of the monster world here, and we have long theorized towards what this power surge could be, but let's go over his options here, guys. So the first option that everyone is going to think of, the typical way that the monster handlers love to power monsters up, is obviously using zapping. Zapping those eggs is all throughout the game for his dormant monsters, the Colossal Neon statues, and also, I just don't want to, okay? I've had enough of zapping the eggs. I've got Adult Celestials, I've got Rare Wobblins, I've got Amber Island, Crucible. Look, I've had enough of zapping the eggs for a while, okay? So I do think it's time for a break and it's time for something else, so let's have a look at his other options. Then we also have the idea of obtaining all of the monsters on the island, and I really do like this idea, but I think it has complexities to itself. Now, the community, this is the most fan-loved idea. Every single comment, basically, inside of my comment section behind my old Colossal Island theory video, this is the idea that everyone always puts forward and really seems to admire, but if we're looking at this from a hawkened out view, even though it's really cool, it's also very complicated. For example, how do you communicate what monsters would be required when updates come along? The islands are always updating, we've got all these new monsters. It's just a really complicated idea, even if you say the base 15 monsters. That's just like Woodbox, right? It's just hard to get that across, and the requirements, would they have to be in the hotel? Would they have to be placed down? There's too much ambiguity around it and complexity, to the point where I feel like his third option would probably be the best one, and that is just an island exclusive thing. We've gone about the Colossal Spiritinator, and going back to that structure, I think it should tie to that itself. I like the idea of obtaining the monsters on the island itself and having that experience and generating that power surge potentially on that island. Considering how the Colossals, they invented things like breeding, the spark of life, I think it could be an amalgamation almost of all of these mechanics that we've come to expect from them. So we could be talking about utilizing this Colossal Spiritinator in order to produce that energy on the island itself. Now, I am perplexed towards how this could function exactly, so make sure to leave your comments down below regarding that. But hold your asses up here, guys, because there is something that you have all been wanting, and I know this to be true from them comments. I've not been wanting it, but you guys sure have. We've just got Amber Island, and that produces relics. That used to be a really hard to get currency, but as the creators of the monster world, there is no currency that fits the Colossals better and their eliteness, the grandness, than keys. Keys came from the creation of the monster world. What better currency can you have to produce from the Colossals, the grandiose creators, than the actual currency that came from the creation of the monster world? It fits together perfectly, and this currency, guys, everything seems to require it now. I feel you. Rare Wobblins, Adult Celestials, the Crucible, Dipsters, everything seems to want keys, yet there is no way to legitimately get them other than through daily rewards and things like that, and they are so hard to come by, especially with how many things you guys have to be paying for. I never have to think about the darn thing because I get thousands and thousands. I tell you guys to go to other people, but you don't. You just keep sending them to me, and I'm saying, like, don't send me more. Everyone's sitting in a corner, or you're like, give me keys. But you want to send them to the person who does have them all. Anyway, Adult Celestials, sure, they produce them now. That was the huge whopping event when we got them, right? But they don't produce enough. They produce barely any. And if we're thinking about it at the end of the day, I do think an island where we can produce those keys would be the best solution. It's time for keys to get the Amber Island treatment. And it's the best chance to, it's the creators, and honestly, with it just being the most valuable currency in the game, especially going by those in-app purchases because, oh my word, those are so expensive. I think it makes a lot of sense. And for this song behind the Colossals, it's obviously got to be the Great Song. The Great Song is what the Colossals used to create the monster world and creating the monsters. And this is a huge lore thing. It's just a fan thing. It's what we want to see in the lore. And they're gonna deliver on that if they get the chance to. And this is the chance. And for the island behind it too, there is no better place for Colossal Island besides the very thing that allows them to sing the Great Song in the first place, and that is the World Tree. This World Tree has access to all of the dimensions inside of the monster world, and it's long been theorized. I mean, this thing, it harkens back to every single lore point we have ever known, and fans, we just want to see it. The fact that we could actually get the chance to see this thing, it will be absolutely amazing. We'd see all of the different dimensions being represented, and we could see an accurate representation of the Colossals' playground. Just like we see with Wobbling Island, Wubbox's playground, let's see that for the Colossals. A huge warped atmosphere with all of these different dimensions and creativity spiraling throughout the design, clocks, things like that all throughout it. Really evoking that sense of grandiose and as though this is the ultimate island. At the end of the day, these are the creators and this is a huge lore location. They are not going to get this chance again, guys, and I do think they have to go full out with this. I mean, we could get looks at the dimensions we've never seen before too, like the cave crystal dimension. The opportunities here are honestly quite endless. And we probably see the World Tree too, made up of amber, like with Kana, as is confirmed all of these years. There's so much lore integrated into this island, it truly would be amazing. And everything about this island too, you gotta say, it's just gonna have the hugest implications for the lore ever. These bios that we're gonna be seeing, the amount of lore that we would get, seen as though the Colossals remember everything from the Dawn of Fire, the Cataclysm. Everyone else has forgot, but the Colossals, they know what caused the Cataclysm. And I think things are always exciting when they're kept more secretive, and therefore I do hope that they keep secrets, but just knowing that they know, and the fact we can get teasers towards what happened inside of the bios, potentially references too towards what each Colossal specifically created. I am so intrigued behind what each Colossal did. Did one create the breeding structure? What created what? And just knowing that inside of the monster world will be absolutely fascinating. And I think tying to these Colossals, the most important thing that I would love to see, just like the Celestials, how we heard their story inside of the Colossi bios and also on Stonehenge, seeing the Colossals' story and how each one went about creating the individual things and hearing about that inside of the bios, I think is the ultimate choice there. Couple that with teasers from Dawn of Fire and that is the ultimate basket, guys. It's the perfect combo, to be honest. And for these monster designs, we've always known the Colossals to be spirits. They need to be ghost-like, therefore slippery, but the main thing to capture inside of these designs is the epicness behind each one. The powers of creation and the unique abilities, they all need to be captured inside of this. We're talking flying, superpowers, flight, vision, teleportation, flexibility, every single superpower you can imagine. Let's tie those back to the islands themselves as well and each Colossals' home. Let's intertwine why the Colossals imbued themselves into each island specifically and reference towards that. And it goes without saying, these have to have the coolest animations ever. If they are the creators of the monster world, they need to be cooler than Wubbox. They need to be the creators. All the cards must be laid out for these Colossals because they are the creators and it needs to be known. And for these Colossals, I'm going to pull up on screen the wonderful designs that we have. So Lycoad has made the Ikonki, they've called it Plant Island Colossal design here. You can see how it's a bit more slippery, ghost-like. We've got the Tiki mask here. Typical design that I've showed tons of times for his Colossal spirits. But we also have this one created by Rals here on screen as well as Earth Island Colossal, which we featured inside of his Colossal Mark series. So you can see here a huge enigmatic-like appearance surrounded by rocks, definitely evoking that Earth vibe. Then we have the Tribal Colossal. A lot more we know about this one. Seeing as though we got tons of lore towards the separation. Again, Colossal Mark, you gotta watch it, guys. If you don't know, you don't know. And then we also have Amphior, which they've named them for the Colosseum. Not really sure how this one's gonna wake up still. Definitely are gonna have to theorize about that sometime. There's some islands that really don't make sense towards the Colossals awakening, so it's gonna be interesting to see how those function. But anyway, moving on to his schedule again. I think before we go into it fully, when we put it up on screen, I want to say these Colossals, seeing as though they're all going to be grand, I want to see them one at a time, okay? I think this goes a bit without saying. These Colossals, if we are to get them, they all deserve spotlight. These are the creators, and I think if it all happens at once, it might honestly honestly be too much. Too much to comprehend. I would love it, honestly, but it's too much, and I do think they should spread them out. We've got 5 right now, but that does not mean that 5 have to release at once. I'd like to see them at least a week apart, okay? These are the creators, and I want the time to digest them, to dissect them, to love them in the MPG fashion. So I need time with these things, because if you give them me all at once, honestly, I think that would make my head explode. That is something that I don't think I'd be able to take. Anyway, it's confirmed that Anniversary Month is going to last until the 12th of October in game, which is a huge amount of time and longer than we've ever had before. So they clearly have a lot of things planned here. And going by schedule, I have no doubt that they do. If any of these things are planned, then this is Anniversary Month, right? Already. They definitely need time to spread all of this out, and this is wonderful because we can do that now. So I do think we're going to see everything 2 weeks apart now, so let's do that on the schedule, guys. And then seeing as though we're getting a trailer on Saturday, and PAX is the day before, we're going to be getting us teasers from PAX that on that Saturday, the day after, when it starts PAX. And that trailer's going to kick off Anniversary, ready for next week. And this would also perfectly, this spreading out of content, give us time for them to work on the new island. I'm so excited about Colossal Island. You guys don't understand. If you've been watching for years, you understand. It's my most wanted update, okay? But this would give them time to release the new island and map on the 12th of October, more than likely here. And in-game, quite interestingly now, you can't buy the Anniversary skin, but you can activate it on a trial. Now, this suggests, therefore, that it's very likely the design will be updated next week. Seeing as though you can't purchase it, they are waiting, I do think, for you to purchase it inside of it. It's a trial. They obviously are going to give you the option eventually. Now, I am ready for PAX. I'm going on the aeroplane right now. I had to record this so I can edit it on the plane. So I'm going now. I'm going to go. Adios. But remember, Adult Ludwig tomorrow, Earth Colossal on Saturday, and also I'm going to PAX, so please come and say hi if you are too. I will obviously be filming too, so I'm going to have some cool videos planned. See you guys later though for now. Bye guys!